The following Philo edu Terms of Service Agreement can be found on the Philo website at about.philo.com/terms/edu-terms. There will be a link below in the video's description. Philo edu Terms of Service Agreement, last updated November 13th, 2017. Welcome to Philo edu, which is operated by Philo Incorporated. Philo, we, us, or our. Please read this edu Terms of Service Agreement carefully, as it constitutes a legally binding agreement and applies to your use of Philo's on-campus private network video streaming service for colleges, universities, and other higher learning institutions, including without limitation. A. Any such service provided via philo.com, tivli.com, backend.tv, and all corresponding Philo edu-related domains, subdomains, web pages, and websites associated therewith. Collectively, cite. B. The Philo edu app or channel on mobile, console, and other IP-enabled devices and platforms, including without limitation Apple iOS, Apple TV, Android, Chromecast, and Roku. And C. All other features, functionality, content applications, and services offered by us as a part of our on-campus private network video streaming service for colleges, universities, and other higher learning institutions, including without limitation all associated application/device-based features and related technology, for example, apps, APIs, widgets, etc. Subsection A, B, and C above shall collectively be referred to as the edu services. The edu services do not include any other Philo websites, applications, or other services or products, including without limitation the general Philo video streaming service that provides live and time-shifted television programming, which is subject to the terms of service. This agreement includes warranty disclaimers and limitations of liability that should be carefully reviewed and considered prior to any use of the services. This agreement does not cover other services, websites, or any corresponding content, features, or activities made available by any other third party, unless specifically stated. This agreement applies to all users of the edu services, user, you or your, whether you're accessing them via a personal computer, a wireless or mobile device, or any other IP-enabled technology, each a device. By using the edu services, you acknowledge and agree that you shall comply with this agreement and any additional terms and conditions that we provide to you in connection with the edu services, for example, e-commerce terms, software licenses, social media terms, etc. Additional terms. The edu services privacy policy, edu privacy policy, and the additional terms are hereby incorporated into this agreement by reference as though fully set forth herein. Section 1. Term. This agreement shall remain in effect while you use the edu services. You may terminate your use of or registration for the edu services at any time, for any reason, and Philo may terminate your use of or registration to the edu services in the event you breach this agreement and or in the event you are no longer eligible to receive the edu services. Section 2. Modifications. We may modify this agreement from time to time without notice to you for any reason. We will post or display notices of material changes on the edu services and or email you or notify you upon login about these changes. The form of such notice is at our discretion. Once we post or make them available on the edu services, these changes become effective immediately, and if you use the edu services after they become effective, it will signify your agreement to be bound by the changes. We recommend that you check back frequently and review this agreement regularly, so you are aware of the most current rights and obligations that apply to you. Section 3. The services. Philo makes available to users real-time streams of video programming content, for example, national and local television programming, including news, sports, movies, dramas, sitcoms, live events, etc. Video content via its proprietary IP-based content delivery platform and provide a suite of related features and functionality, including digital video recording, DVR capabilities, program guides, video-on-demand features, social networking functionality, notification services, and other content and resources, Philo platform. By using the EDU services, you authorize and instruct Philo to record video content on the Philo platform based on your preferences and history receiving the EDU services and using the Philo platform. Section 4. Compliance. By using the EDU services, you represent and warrant that a. You're 13 years of age or older, b. Your use of the EDU services does not violate any applicable law, rule, or regulation, and c. You shall comply with all applicable cable subscriber terms, video content provider/programmer terms, requirements and codes of conduct, and other dwelling or facility, for example, residential facility, multiple dwelling unit, etc., facility, or any owner or operator of any facility, and any other terms and conditions instituted by third parties applicable to your use of any video content made available in connection with the EDU services. Section 5. Access. In order to access and use the EDU services, you are required to input a username, password, and/or other authentication combination, whether associated with a facility or any owner or operator thereof, a social networking platform, for example, Facebook, etc., and/or otherwise, user credentials, and provide certain additional information, which may include your email address, legal name, and age, collectively, user information. You represent and warrant that all user information is truthful and accurate. You agree to maintain the strict confidentiality of your user credentials and to not share your user credentials with any other person. You are responsible for any use of the EDU services by anyone using your user credentials. So it is critical that you do not share your user credentials with anyone and promptly notify Philo of any unauthorized use thereof. We reserve the right to deny access and use to any user if we believe there is a question about the identity of the person trying to access any account or element of the EDU services. Section 6. Network requirements. Use of the EDU services, including access to video content, may require that each user be located on the premises of the facility and connected to a local authorized network, for example, a wired or Wi-Fi-based connection to the data network of a facility or any owner or operator of a facility, etc. Philo reserves the right to authenticate and verify your location and corresponding network using your IP address, geolocation, and any other information that you, your facility, or computer system provide to us, as well as any publicly available information. Our collection, use, and storage of such information will be in compliance with the EDU privacy policy. Please see our frequently asked questions for additional information regarding network requirements and Philo's authentication and verification processes. Section 7. Device requirements. In order to access and use the EDU services, you may be required to use devices and other technology meeting certain system, configuration, and other requirements established by Philo, its content partners, licensors, and other third parties, such as platform, storefront, and network operators, for example, Roku, Apple, etc. Collectively, operators, and you're responsible for ensuring that your devices and other technology meet all such requirements. You agree that certain devices or operating systems thereon may not support all features available in the Philo application, for example, closed caption display and/or configuration, and that you understand that to access such features via the EDU services you may need to upgrade your device or its operating system and/or other technology. A list of currently supported devices can be found here. In addition, you are responsible for any data access, network, and/or other service rates and charges you may incur in connection with your device and use of the EDU services. Section 8. Personal information. We respect your privacy and the use and protection of your personally identifiable information. In the course of your use of the EDU services, you may be asked to provide certain personal information to us. Such information referred to hereinafter as personal information. Our information collection and use policies with respect to the privacy of such personal information as set forth in the EDU privacy policy. We encourage you to read the EDU privacy policy and to use it to help make informed decisions. You acknowledge and agree that you are solely responsible for the accuracy and content of personal information. Section 9. Proprietary rights. As between you and Philo, Philo exclusively owns all right, title, and interest in and to the Philo platform and all material and information contained and or made available on, through, or in connection therewith, excluding video content owned by third parties, collectively, Philo content. The term Philo content includes all graphics, computer code, software, interfaces, information, logos, copy, text, and all copyrightable or otherwise legally protectable elements of the EDU services, including the design, selection, sequence, look and feel and arrangement of the EDU services, and any intellectual property and or proprietary rights therein. Unless the context clearly requires otherwise or we explicitly set forth in writing, the term services includes Philo content as well. Section 10. Limited, non-commercial use. The EDU services are to be used solely for your non-exclusive, non-transferable, non-commercial, and personal use, and for no other purposes. You must not alter, delete, or conceal any copyright, trademark, service mark, or other notices contained on the EDU services. Except as expressly authorized by Philo, you shall not directly or indirectly reproduce, modify, create derivative works from, display, perform, publish, distribute, disseminate, broadcast, sell, license, or circulate to any third party, including on or via a third-party website or platform, or otherwise use the EDU services any video content without the express authorization of Philo and the owner or duly licensed distributor. Any unauthorized or prohibited use of the EDU services or any video content may subject you to civil liability, criminal prosecution, or both under applicable law. Section 11. Third-party services. Section 11.1. Social media services. Philo may enable you to log in to the EDU services via third-party online services, such as Facebook social media services. By logging into the EDU services using account information from a social media service, you agree that we may transmit your user information to the providers of the applicable social media services, but only to the extent such user information is needed to enable such login. Section 11.2. Other third-party services. We do not verify, endorse, or have any responsibility, obligation, or liability for a. URLs or hyperlinks referenced or included anywhere in connection with the EDU services or any other form of link or redirection of your connection to, with or through the EDU services, or b. any third-party websites, content, data, information, applications, goods, services, or materials, including social media services collectively, third-party services. We encourage you to be aware when you leave the EDU services and to read the terms and conditions and privacy policy of each third-party service you use. Section 11.3. Advertisements. From time to time, you may choose to communicate with, interact with, or obtain third-party services from our advertisers, sponsors, or other promotional partners, collectively, advertisers, found on or through the EDU services or via a hyperlinked website or platform. All such communication, interaction, and participation is strictly and solely between you and such advertisers, and we shall not be responsible or liable to you in any way in connection with these activities or transactions. Section 12. Video content/service availability. Some or all of the video content made available in connection with the EDU services is provided from third parties, and such video content may be added, deleted, or disabled from the EDU services from time to time, and Philo may add, delete, disable, or modify some or all of the EDU services at any time. Accordingly, you acknowledge and agree that a. You may no longer be able to receive video content and or use the EDU services to the same extent or at all as prior to such change or discontinuation, and b. Philo shall have no obligation or liability to you in such case. Philo may also impose limits on the use of or access to certain features or portions of the video content or the EDU services, in any case and without notice or liability to you. By way of example, and not limitation, not all users of the EDU services, depending upon the user's geographic location, equipment, device, and other factors, will have access to all aspects of the EDU services. Section 13. Objectionable material. You understand that by using the EDU services, you may encounter video content that may be deemed offensive, indecent, or objectionable, which video content may or may not be identified as such, and Philo shall have no liability to you for video content that is offensive, indecent, or objectionable. Section 14. User conduct. You are solely responsible for your conduct in connection with the EDU services and agree that, while using the EDU services, you shall not 1. Engage in or encourage conduct that would violate any applicable law or violate or infringe upon any intellectual property, proprietary, privacy, moral, publicity, or other rights of ours or of any other third party. 2. Use the EDU services for commercial or business purposes, including content redistribution, advertising, marketing or offering goods or services, or exploitation of information or material obtained on or in connection with the EDU services. 3. Disrupt, impair, or interfere with the use, features, function, operation, or maintenance of the EDU services or the rights or use or enjoyment of the EDU services by any other user. 4. Modify, reverse engineer, decompile, or disassemble any part of the EDU services, whether in whole or in part, or create any derivative works from any part of the EDU services, or encourage, assist, or authorize any other person to do so. Or 5. Engage in spamming, flooding, harvesting of email addresses, or other personal information, spidering, screen scraping, phishing, database scraping, or any other activity with the purposes of obtaining lists of users or other information. Philo reserves the right to investigate and take appropriate legal action against anyone who violates or is suspected of violating this Section 14, including reporting you to law enforcement authorities. Further, you agree that Philo may access, preserve, and disclose your user information, and if required to do so by law, or if based on a good faith belief that such access, preservation, or disclosure is reasonably necessary to 1. Comply with the legal process. 2. Enforce this agreement. 3. Respond to claims that any content or information violates the rights of any third party. 4. Respond to your requests for customer or technical service. Or 5. Protect the rights, property, or personal safety of Philo, users, or any third parties. Section 15. Digital Millennium Copyright Act. Section 15.1. If you're a copyright owner and believe that any content on the EDU services infringes upon your copyrights, you may submit a notification pursuant to the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, DMCA, by providing our designated agent, as set forth below, with the following information in writing. See 17 U.S.C. 512c3 for further details. A physical or electronic signature of a person authorized to act on behalf of the owner of an exclusive right that is allegedly infringed. Identification of the copyrighted work claimed to have been infringed, or if multiple copyrighted works on the EDU services are covered by a single notification, a representative list of such works on the EDU services. Identification of the material that is claimed to be infringing or to be the subject of infringing activity and that is to be removed, or access to which is to be disabled, and information reasonably sufficient to permit us to locate the material. Information reasonably sufficient to permit us to contact the U, such as an address, telephone number, and, if applicable, email address. A statement that the UF has a good faith belief that use of the material in the manner complained of is not authorized by the copyright owner, its agent, or the law. And a statement that the information in the notification is accurate and, under penalty of perjury, that you are authorized to act on behalf of the owner of an exclusive right that is allegedly infringed. Written notification of claimed infringement must be submitted to the following designated agent. Name and address of designated agent. Philo Copyright Agent Care of Philo Incorporated, 225 Green Street, San Francisco, California, 94111. Telephone number of designated agent, 1-415-936-1515. Email address of designated agent, dmca-agent@philo.com. We may notify the facility or any owner or operator thereof of any such claimed infringement. For clarity, Only DMCA notices should be sent to the designated agent, and any other feedback, comments, requests for technical support, and other communication should be directed to Philo customer service by sending an email to help@philo.com. If a claimant fails to comply with all of the requirements of this Section 17, its DMCA notice may not be valid. Section 15.2. If a copyright owner or its agent believes that its content, which was removed or to which access was disabled, is non-infringing, or that it has the authorization from the copyright owner or its agent, or pursuant to applicable law, to make such content available to Philo for use on the EDU services, the claimant may send a counter notice containing the following information to our copyright agent: the copyright owner's or its agent's physical or electronic signature, identification of the content that has been removed or to which access has been disabled, and the location at which the content appeared before it was removed or disabled. A statement that the copyright owner or its agent has a good faith belief that the content was removed or disabled as a result of a mistake or a misidentification of the content, and the copyright owner's or its agent's name, address, telephone number, and, if applicable, email address, and a statement that the copyright owner or its agent shall accept service of process from the person who provided notification of the alleged infringement. If a counter notice is received by our copyright agent, Philo may send a copy of the counter notice to 1. The claimant, informing it that it may replace the removed content or cease disabling it in 10 business days, and 2. The facility or any owner or operator thereof, unless the copyright owner or its agent files an action seeking a court order against Philo or the user. The removed content may be replaced or access to it restored in 10 business days or more after receipt of the counter notice, at Philo's sole discretion. Section 16. Customer support. For assistance with technical issues, please refer to our online support page at philo.com/support or contact help@philo.com. Section 17. Disclaimer and limitations of liability. The services and all video content made available on, through, or in connection therewith are provided on and as is and as available basis without any representation, warranty, or condition of any kind, express or implied, or any guarantee or assurance the services or the video content will be available for use, or that any features, functions, services, or operations will be available or perform as described. All implied representations, warranties, and conditions relating to the services or any video content are hereby disclaimed, without limiting any agreement or code of conduct between you and the facility or any owner or operator thereof. This agreement contains the entire understanding and agreement between you and Philo concerning the services provided or performed and supersedes any and all prior or inconsistent understandings relating to such services and your use thereof. This agreement cannot be changed or terminated orally. If any provision of this agreement is held to be illegal, invalid, or unenforceable, this shall not affect any other provisions, and this agreement shall be deemed amended to the extent necessary to make it legal, valid, and enforceable. The terms include, includes, and including, whether or not capitalized, mean include but are not limited to, includes but is not limited to, and including but not limited to, respectively, and are to be construed as inclusive, not exclusive. Any provision which must survive in order to allow us to enforce its meaning shall survive the termination of this agreement. The failure of company to exercise or enforce any right or provision of this agreement will not operate as a waiver of such right or provision. You understand and agree that, to the fullest extent permissible by law, Philo, the facility, and all owners and operators thereof, and their respective affiliates, successors, assigns, officers, directors, employees, agents, representatives, licensors, and operators shall not be liable for any loss or damage of any kind, direct or indirect, in connection with or arising out of any use of the services or this agreement. You further understand and acknowledge the capacity of the EDU services in the aggregate and for each user is limited. Consequently, some features or functions may be restricted or delayed or become completely inoperable. Without limiting the generality of any of the foregoing, Philo disclaims all liability related to user notifications delivered via the services. Philo cannot guarantee that you will receive messages via such notification system, or that such messages will be delivered in a timely or uninterrupted manner, and Philo shall have no liability, for negligence or otherwise, to you or any other third party, including without limitation liability for bodily injury or death, for any failure or deficiency of such system, nor for any delay or failure related to the transmission or receipt of any messages via such system. Some jurisdictions do not allow for the exclusion of certain warranties or certain limitations on damages and remedies. Accordingly, some of the exclusions and limitations described in this agreement may not apply to you. Section 18. Governing Law, Miscellaneous. Section 18.1. Without limiting any agreement or code of conduct between you and the facility or any owner or operator thereof, this agreement contains the entire understanding and agreement between you and Philo concerning the EDU services provided or performed and supersedes any and all prior or inconsistent understandings relating to such services and your use thereof. This agreement cannot be changed or terminated orally. If any provision of this agreement is held to be illegal, invalid, or unenforceable, this shall not affect any other provisions, and this agreement shall be deemed amended to the extent necessary to make it legal, valid, and enforceable. The terms include, includes, and including, whether or not capitalized, mean include, but are not limited to, includes, but is not limited to, and including, but not limited to, respectively, and are to be construed as inclusive, not exclusive. Any provision which must survive in order to allow us to enforce its meaning shall survive the termination of this agreement. The failure of company to exercise or enforce any right or provision of this agreement will not operate as a waiver of such right or provision. Section 18.2. This agreement and your use of the EDU services is governed by, construed and enforced in accordance with the internal substantive laws of the state of Massachusetts, notwithstanding the state's conflict of laws provisions, applicable to contracts made, executed, and wholly performed in Massachusetts, and, for the purposes of any and all legal or equitable actions, you specifically agree and submit to the exclusive jurisdiction and venue of the state and federal courts situated in the state of Massachusetts, and agree you shall not object to such jurisdiction or venue on the grounds of lack of personal jurisdiction, forum, non-convenience, or otherwise, in any action or proceeding commenced to enforce any right or obligation of the parties under this agreement, regarding your use of the services or with respect to the subject matter hereof, you hereby waive any right you may now have or hereafter possess to a trial by jury. Section 18.3. This agreement, and any rights, licenses, and privileges granted herein, may not be transferred or assigned by you, but may be assigned or transferred by Philo without restriction, notice, or other obligation to you. The EDU services are controlled and operated by Philo from its offices in the U.S. Philo makes no representation or warranty that the EDU services are legal, appropriate, or available for use in other locations. Those who choose to access the EDU services from other locations do so at their own risk and are responsible for compliance with any and all local laws, rules, and regulation, if and to the extent local laws, rules, and regulations are applicable. No software made available in connection with the EDU services may be downloaded, exported, or re-exported into or to a national or resident of any countries that are subject to U.S. export restrictions. This agreement was last modified on the date indicated above and is effective immediately. Copyright Philo Incorporated. This has been a reading of the Philo EDU Terms of Service Agreement, last updated November 13th, 2017. A link to the full text can be found in the video's description. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.